Hey everybody, welcome to End Times Talk. Boy, man, this is crazy, dude. I just come across this, and this is a insider paper article. We'll pop this up. It says U.S. judge to hear request for immediate takedown of Epstein files. Hold on, it's not popping up. Give me a moment here. Whoops. Insider paper says U.S. judge to hear request for immediate takedown of Epstein files. Can you guys believe this? All right, it says here, U.S. federal judge said he would hear a request to block access to investigative files linked to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein on Wednesday after lawyers flagged unredacted names of victims. I can understand that, but I can tell you right now, like I can show you something here. Give me a moment. I'm going to show you something here. Okay. I'm going to share screen. Right here is the page for the Epstein library. It says right here, in view of the congressional deadline, all reasonable efforts have been made to review and redact personal information pertaining to victims, other private individuals, and protect sensitive materials from disclosure. That said, because of the volume of information involved, this website may nevertheless contain information that inadvertently includes non-public, personally identifiable information or other sensitive content to include matters of a sexual nature, because there is some gnarly stuff in this, but it's blocked at least, praise God. In the event a member of the public identifies any information that should not have been posted, please notify us immediately. And they give their email address right here so we can take steps to correct the problem as soon as possible. But that's not what they're going to do. They're not going to correct the problem. They don't want to correct the problem. They want to have it to where a judge is going to hear the request to immediately take down all of the Epstein files. So I find that kind of funny that they say it's because of the victims, but no, I think it's because, you're cannibalistic, baby eating, nasty, satanic, Luciferian, mystery religion, Babylonian, Baal worshiping, Molech, crap. You know what I mean? It's just, that's why they want to get rid of it, because they see everything's starting to come out now and people are starting to link everything together, because there's some really good citizen journalists and citizen investigators that are actually doing more than what the FBI is even doing. So it just, that's why they want to take it down. It says here, the latest developments surrounding the case, which continues to cast a long shadow over Washington, comes after Bill and Hillary Clinton agreed to testify in a U.S. House investigation. Oh, let's see that. I'm interested to see that. The Justice Department released more than 3 million files last week related to the investigation into the disgraced financier, including his links to high-profile figures. I mean, even high-profile, even to the point where, like, the Dalai Lama himself is mentioned like 160 plus times in the Epstein files. All right. And I'll tell you right now, it's disgusting to me, because like I've even seen pictures of like the Dalai Lama sticking his tongue out and like actually like seemingly like he wanted to make out with this little boy that's sitting on his lap. It's disgusting. It's vile. All right. And so you have like, religions like Islam and Buddhism that promote pedophilia. I want to make this very clear to anybody watching this that doesn't know who Jesus Christ is as their Lord and Savior, that my faith, my Messiah, my God, he says that if you would even so much as hurt a little one, that it would be better for you to have a millstone hung around your neck, which is about 1,000-pound stone that is used to mill wheat, flour, things like that, and it has a hole in the center of it. And it goes around in a circle in a mill, and it crushes and pulverizes that stuff to be able to make into flour of some form to make bread or whatever. But that is about 1,000-pound millstone, and it says it would be better for that to be hung around your neck and you dropped into the ocean and drowned in the depths of the sea. My God is against pedophilia. I don't care what Satanist or what Luciferians or whatever that they, will try to use Christianity as a front. Like I've even seen pedophiles that are at like Walmart getting ready to meet up with kids, and they have like an I Love Jesus hat on. They use it as a cover, but they're not Christian at all. they're doing things that are satanic and Luciferian, and they try to cause, and it's just like the elite want, the Jews to take the blame for things. And I'm talking the real Jews, not the ones that are Luciferian Satanists or anything like that. But I'm talking about how they want them to take the blame. The same thing that the pedophiles would love for the church and love for, Christians to take the blame for some of this stuff. And you got these high profile priests and things like that of the Catholic Church. And you got all these disgusting individuals that will take prominent positions in churches to have access to children. It is disgusting and it is vile, but it is not what I believe. And it is not the God that I serve. Whatever God they're serving isn't the God that I serve. The God that I serve, his name is Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, the Lord and Messiah. I'm telling you right now, my God is against pedophilia. And he says, if you would even offend one of these little ones, it would be better for you to have a millstone hung around your neck and drowned in the depths of the sea. And so, I mean, I've already shown an example at the end of my new documentary where I show what happens to the human body when you are drowned in the depths of the sea. Actually, let's take a moment and let's watch that part of the documentary. Want to? Let's check it out for a second, because I want to show you what happens to the human body when you go to the bottom, when you go down to Davy Jones' locker. I want you to see it for yourself. So give me a moment to pull up my documentary here. Hold on one second. The part 2, hold on. Give me a moment here. All right, so let's watch this together. I want you guys to see what happens to the human body when it's drowned in the depths of the sea. Let's watch this here, okay? You ready? I'm going to make this full screen here. Hold on, let me check and make sure it is. All right, here we go. We stand at a crossroads where silence is no longer an option, where complacency is the enemy of righteousness. God himself is summoning us, urging us to rise, to protect the most vulnerable among us, our children. They are not just the future. They are the very heartbeat of innocence. And if we fail them, we fail the divine purpose etched into our beings that God has given us. Let me take you to the words of Matthew 18:5-6. And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receiveth me. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depths of the sea. Think about that for a moment. A massive grinding wheel of stone, weighing 1,000 pounds or more, hung like a noose around the neck of someone who dares to harm a child. Imagine the terror as that unyielding weight drags you down into the abyss. The sea's depths, where pressure builds like an invisible vice around you. Your body, once strong and defiant, implodes under the relentless force. Bones shattering, organs bursting, every cell screaming in the cold, suffocating void. No escape, no mercy, just eternal darkness closing in around you. And yet the scripture says this horrific fate would be better than the true judgment awaiting those who prey on the innocent children. Because Jesus' love for children is boundless, pure, and fierce. He gathers them in his arms, blessed them, and declared them that the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. He saw in their wide-eyed wonder the reflection of divine grace, untainted, trusting, full of joy. To hurt a child is to strike at the heart of Christ himself. And mark my words, every unrepentant soul who twists that innocence, who steals their laughter or shatters their trust, will pay the ultimate price. Divine justice is not a myth. It's a promise. Nobody slips through the cracks. Nobody gets away with anything. But let's name the darkness for what it is. Satan, that ancient deceiver, and all the false religions and twisted ideologies under his sway. They target children deliberately. They seek to corrupt the pure, to steal their innocence before it can bloom into strength. From the shadows of cults to the poisons of perversion, they whisper lies. They erode boundaries and drag the vulnerable into despair. But we see through the veil. We know the enemy, and we shall not stand idle while evil feasts on the future. Now picture this with me. Hold it in your heart. A child's laughter echoing like bells in a quiet dawn. Their tiny hands reaching out in unwavering trust. Their eyes sparkling with dreams yet unborn. These are the treasures of heaven on earth, the ones who teach us humility and wonder. Jesus himself said we must become like them, innocent, open hearted, full of faith, to enter the gates of paradise. To have the mind of a child is to embrace simplicity in a world of chaos, to love without reservation, to believe in goodness even when shadows loom. Oh, how my heart aches for every little one who's been wounded, for every spark dimmed too soon. They are our mirrors, showing us who we were meant to be. Protect them. So, people of the world, rise up. Stand united against these satanic forces that claw at innocence, that seek to destroy what God. And so I'll end it. I'll end it right there. But I think you get the picture of what happens to the human body and what Jesus is going to do to those that harm children. And they're trying to cover it up. They're trying to cover it up. They're trying to get away with it. And I can't believe they would go as far to have a U.S. judge here to hear a request for immediate takedown of the Epstein files. And it's not because of the victims. And I already talked about why it's not because of the victims. There's so much coming out about the truth. And it's this, I'll be honest with you, and I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think that they released everything. I think they gave us an extremely watered down version of the Epstein files, and that's what they released to the public. But it says here the department was left, and we're on the fourth sentence down here. The department was left scrambling after names of alleged victims who were supposed to be anonymized were left unredacted. It's funny, they focus so much on the elite and the people they're trying to protect that they left the victims hanging out in the open. And the reality is, there's a lot of victims that are redacted and things like that, but it's not just that. Okay. It says here in a letter of judges seen by AFP, Brad Edwards and Brittany Henderson from the Florida legal firm Edwards Henderson cited an email published in the cache of documents listing 32 minor child victims with only one name redacted and 31 left visible. Another woman said that her full address had been published in the files. The lawyers requested an immediate takedown of the government website showing the files. Well, that's people have already downloaded this stuff. I've downloaded a ton of it myself. District Judge Richard M. Berman said in a show, because they're trying to protect and keep things from getting out. I'm telling you, when I woke up this morning, it's like more and more like the internet is flooded with the truth. A literal revolution is taking place. A literal paradigm shift, a literal waking up from the matrix is taking place. And I'm telling you right now, so many youth are coming to the knowledge of what's really going on and what they've been blind to. And I posted a post over on Twitter X. I'm going to try to bring it up because this guy said it best. I think it was a post where this guy was saying, remember to be kind. We were all newbies at one time. And if it wasn't for the ones and before us, we would all still be sleeping. So, people like, for me, people like Kathy O'Brien, people like Gray, other people in my life like Doc Marquis and stuff, woke me up to what was really going on. And it took time for that to happen. You know what I mean? And so, we have got to be there for the next generation and love them through their waking up process that's taking place right now. And they don't want the masses to wake up. The grasshoppers don't want the ants to figure out that we outnumber them 1,000 to 1. More than that, probably 100,000 to 1. All right. And if the masses wake up from it too soon, all right, their game's up. The jig is up. The game's over. So of course they want to shut this all down, and you know what I mean, and they're using the victims as a means. They could just take down the pages with the victims' names. Listen, I'm going to show you something, all right? And I want to teach you guys something about going through the Epstein files, if you so choose to. Very difficult stuff in the Epstein files, not for the faint of heart, all right? I know there's a lot of people that are already doing it, but let me show you something here. So when you're on the page, first, it's going to ask you, are you 18 years of age or older? Okay, obviously I am. So then you're verified just by clicking that. All right, then you go to search full library. All right, and then right here you could type in, we'll just say, bail. Let's look up bail, just the word bail, okay? And then you search that, and I'm just showing you, like, you can go through and find other things, but then you have a list of all the PDFs that have the word bail. And I mean, like, there's tons of them, 5 pages of PDFs, okay? So when the first, hold on a second here. When the first one comes out, all right, there's different data sets. Okay, let me make sure you're seeing this. Okay, there's different data sets. You can download all files in data set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, and but from 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Actually, I'm going to do this right now because I haven't had a chance to do this. Give me a moment here. All right, so I'm downloading that right now. But you can, but once all the files are gone through, you can download all the files in a zipped folder, all right, from the different data sets. But 11, 10, 9, and 8, you can't do that yet. So like you could click on view files, and you have all these PDFs you got to go through. I'm just going to page 9 and page 13 and page 17. I mean, like I said, when they say it's over 3 million files, it's over 3 million files. And everybody and their mother and their brother is going through this right now and finding, just for instance, let's click on this right here. I mean, uh, to a judge, and it has to deal with the United States versus Jeffrey Epstein, and you can go through these documents and find stuff. So I want to show you how to do it while you still can. All right, while you can still have the time to be able to do that. Hold on one second. Yeah, so my point is, all right, they're trying to take down the Epstein files because of supposedly, the victims, okay, but I don't think that's why they're doing it. This is a bit graphic here, so if you can't handle really graphic things, you need to turn it off now, like right now, and I'll give you a couple of seconds just to turn the video off because what I'm about to say is gnarly. But there's even documents that I even have in my possession where they're talking about how on a boat, on a yacht, there was child sacrifice that took place, and they were feeding off the feces that was in the intestines of the infant. All right, and it was just complete disgusting, vile stuff happening. So these are some of the things that are coming out in the torturous comments and things like that. When it comes to the Epstein files, like for instance, give me a moment here. I'm just trying to make sure I got the right file here. I'll show you. All right, hold on. So this is Martin Nowak, who is a Harvard professor. All right, and in the email it says, "Did you torture her?" You see what I'm saying? And this guy's a Harvard professor. All right. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like this, it's gnarly what's in this stuff. And there's some really bad things that you don't want to see in the Epstein files. So if you're not, a strong Christian and know Jesus very, very in depth and have a very close relationship with them, I'd let other people do this research because trust me, it's getting done and it's getting done fast. There are people who are even creating teams and organizing teams to go through the different data sets and go to different pages and go through those pages, a certain list of pages. Then other people are taking on another chunk because people know we only have so much time to go through this, obviously. You know what I mean? So this is some of the stuff that's going on. Now, give me a moment here. Try to bring some more of the stuff up here. So, like for instance, let me just check this file real quick. Hold on. I just want to make sure what I'm showing here. So, like for instance, in this document right here, it talks about strangled girls. It says right here in the third paragraph in the email after, you see the top one says Edward. At the bottom, it says, "What is damning about Jeffrey Epstein is yet to be written. Did you know somewhere in the hills outside the Zorro, which is the Zorro Ranch, all right, in New Mexico. 2 foreign girls were buried on orders of Jeffrey and Madame G, which is Ghislaine Maxwell. And when you call her Madame, it's like a brothel name. You know what I mean? It says both died by strangulation during rough fetish sex. So I'm showing you the kind of damning evidence that they're finding, you know what I mean, inside the Epstein files. And this is why they want to get rid of it. They don't want people to know what's really going on behind the scenes. And I mean, like, everybody's got a past, okay? Everybody has a past. Everybody's got their sins that they commit, and things like that. And like Nicki Minaj is no different than that, but she's been coming out and confessing Jesus Christ all of a sudden, and has been exposing a lot of the pedophilic ways and the stuff that's being said. I mean, like the stuff she's been saying, I gotta respect it. It's bold. It's bold and it's dangerous what she's doing. But give me a moment here. I'm trying to find stuff here. So even right here in the Epstein files, you have a prison guard, and his name is give me a moment. I got his name right here. His name is Roberto Grijalva, Roberto Grijalva, and he's a prison guard. And he says, not saying anything after this. Please do not try to dox me. But last night after 04:15 count, they took him medical in a wheelchair, front cuffed. All right, front cuffed. All right, now let's do this here. All right, they took him front cuffed right here. You don't cuff someone who's dead. You don't cuff someone who's dead. Even like they're confirming this. You don't cuff someone who's dead. Okay, this has been proven that this is Jeffrey Epstein right here, or supposedly, but this is from the documents that have come out. Okay, and it says right here, it says that he was front cuffed, but not number one triage. Nurse says that they spoke to him. Next thing we know, a trip band shows up. We do not do releases on the weekends unless a judge orders it. Next thing we know, I can't read that or pronounce it, but he was put in a single man cell and hangs himself, ? Here's the thing. The trip band did not sign in, and we did not record the plate number, and a guy in a green dress military outfit was in the back of the band, according to the tower guy who let him through the gate. You guys, I am shaking right now, but I think they switched him out. That's what the guard says. He says he thinks they switched him out. I'm telling you, and I've told you from the very beginning, that Jeffrey Epstein is still alive. All right. I have drone footage of him on his island talking to his groundskeeper. Okay. I've told you he's still alive. All right. Let me see if I can find it. Just give me a moment. I'll try to show you the picture here. Just give me a moment here. I'm going to try to pull it up. Hold on. Okay, here it is. Here it is. I'm going to save it here. Give me a moment. All right, coming back to you now. Image file. Downloads. Here's the image of him taken by drone. This was taken by drone after his supposed suicide. All right? After supposed suicide. And you have here where he's been front cuffed. And then you have here where a prison guard says, I'm going to read it again for those just joining, because you need to know this stuff. Not saying anything after this. Please do not try to dox me. But last night after 04:15 count, they took him in medical in a wheelchair, front cuffed. And here's where he's front cuffed. This checks out. Okay, so he's front cuffed, but not number one triage. Nurse says they spoke to him. Next thing we know, a trip band shows up. We do not do releases on the weekends unless the judge orders it. Next thing we know, he's put in a single man cell and hangs himself, ? So they switched him out. They brought a guy in and he hangs himself, or they killed himself, right? And this officer says, here's the thing. or the prison guard says, here's the thing. The trip van did not sign in, and we did not record the plate number, and a guy in a green dress military outfit was in the back of the van, according to the tower guy who let him through the gate. You guys, I'm shaking right now, but I think they switched him out. All right? Jeffrey Epstein isn't dead. Okay? Now, with that being said, give me a moment here. Give me a moment here. And right here, no, wrong one. Whoops. Sorry. Give me a moment here. So right here, you see the post, the anonymous post that they put up too. They switched him out. He's still alive. They front cuffed him, and he's still on his island. He went down to Little St. James Island. Then there's more proof than that, like analytical proof. You know, his ears don't match up to the body or whatever. Now, here's the thing. I got more. So give me a moment here. Here's more proof. Jeffrey Epstein had a tribal band tattoo, and this is the coroner's, this is the autopsy photo of Jeffrey Epstein. So, you know, and it's obviously him, okay? Or they got a fake one, and there's no Epstein tattoo. There's no tattoo. Not a one. There's more proof. You see? So, isn't that a coinky dink? And then now all of a sudden, all the truth's coming out, and they wanna get rid of the Epstein files, and they want to be able to have an immediate takedown. You better get over there and start saving stuff so you have your own copy of it, because they want to get rid of it all. Not just a part of it. They want to get rid of it all. And so, you know, it's absolutely all coming out. It's absolutely all coming out fast, quick, and in a hurry. And so I'm telling you, things are changing. Things are changing fast. Oh, Mac, man, I'm so sorry for you, big boy. Oh, poor baby. So my point is, okay, is that you have a lot of proof out there. Hold on 1 second. Whoops. I don't know why that happened. You have a lot of proof out there that Jeffrey Epstein's still alive. All right. Now, they're finding out that Gates and Epstein were running pandemic simulation.
Now here we are. You know, we didn't simulate this. We didn't practice.
On behalf of our partners in the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
So both the health policies and economic policies, we find ourselves in uncharted territory.
So you see the Epstein files, it says strain pandemic simulation on number 5 down there in highlighted blue. All right. And this was sent to Jeffrey Epstein, and I believe it's from Bill Gates. 100% from Bill Gates. And then the deliverables and scope or whatever was sent back to Bill Gates. So, you know, they're running their little pandemic stuff, and there's a document. Give me a moment here. Hold on. There's a document. This is part of the Epstein files right here. It's going to take a moment to load up because it's a PDF, and I'm loading it straight to it. The doomsday strain, and even Nipah virus is mentioned in this. Even the Nipah virus is mentioned in this, which I thought was interesting. But this was part of what was in the Epstein files right here. And I'm flipping through it so you can see it. All right. But I just wanted to show that to you. You know, they had plans. Him and Bill Gates, they had plans, man. Also, give me a moment here. They had this interesting document, kind of freaky if you ask me. This one's going to take a second to load. Hold on 1 second, halfway done. And here we go. It's processing. Give it a moment. Hold on one second. Hey, Joppy, how's it going, man? Boy, that's taking a while to process, so I'm going to have to come back to it. But so this is kind of interesting. I'm going to play this clip. Some of you have probably already seen it. But Jeffrey Epstein is asked if he's the devil. And he said, no, but I have good mirrors or something along those lines. I'll play it for you right here.
I told him the devil,
100%.
the devil
himself.
The devil himself said, "I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life."
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
You see that? And he's joking around, and he says, "No, but I have a good mirror." And if anybody knows anything about the occult, all right, the mirror is very symbolic of the reflection of the spiritual realm. So you know, there's some subversive, how do I say this? Some subconscious and subversive, you know, basis to what he just said. All right. So you know, I find it kind of interesting. Now, here's this document. This document is called Evilicious. This was part of the Epstein files, explaining our taste for excessive harm. And if you go on to read this, it says, and this is just some of the quotes in the beginning of it. I'm not going to get too far into it, but it says, pleasure is the greatest incentive to evil. Plato says that. Frederick Nietzsche says, to witness suffering does one good, to inflict it even more so. And then William Golding says, man produces evil as a bee produces honey. So I find it really strange that Jeffrey Epstein would have this in his possession, because they took all of his possessions, you know, and they digitalized it, and that's what this is. And so that documentary, or that document, was part of the Epstein files. So it's like, you know, they're telling you who they are, and then you have trolls that come in here and tell me that I'm crazy when there's a bunch of proof for what I'm talking about, you know, and you just make yourself look like an idiot when you come in here and you say that this stuff isn't real, because it obviously is. And then to defend a pedophile lets me know who you are, you know, Mac Man. If you're still watching, you know, if you want to defend pedophilia and defend a monster who would hurt children, I think it begins to say a lot about who you might be. All right. So, you know, I find that very strange that people, you know, want to act and behave that way. But I want people to understand that there's a bigger picture with these Epstein files. And I want you to watch this, and I want you to really absorb what this FBI agent has to say.
Transparency. It's a cover-up, and here's how it works. They show you flight logs, emails, PG-rated photos, fragments of conversations that have been stripped of the meat. A few big names get thrown under the bus. It's just enough to feel disturbing, but never enough to prove anything about the real players. That's what you'll see in this massive document dump. What you won't see is context. You won't see corroboration, and you definitely won't see accountability, because that's not the point. This is a weaponized DOJ strategy of controlled confusion, and it's working perfectly. You see, they don't protect powerful people by erasing evidence. They protect them by releasing it slowly, by delaying key documents, by over-redacting names, and by letting the public fight over the scraps if we're not too distracted by the latest military invasion of a third world country or a major U.S. city. Chaos becomes their cover. The goal isn't to reveal the truth, it's to survive it. So read the files, but don't confuse access with justice, because sometimes the most effective cover-up is letting you see just enough. This isn't.
So I really hope people absorbed that, because that's so key to what's going on right now. And it always has been from the very beginning, from the pandemic and all of that, a distraction. There is truth to what's being uncovered right now. Absolutely. But don't bet your whole life on it. There's the Epstein, like me and Kathy O'Brien and Gray, we talk quite often, and the people need to understand that the pedophile networks, the satanic pedophile networks that operate behind the scenes are so much more vast than Jeffrey Epstein. And there's so many names that are a part of it that will never see the light of day. And that's where people like me come in. And I'm making documentaries about places that nobody's made a documentary about, that nobody's investigated and dug into. Things like Mackinac Monarch 1 and 2, things like Interlocked, the new investigation that I'm working on right now that I'm trying to raise funds for. And I have to say that, I'm not even halfway there to having the funds that I need for what I'm doing. And so, if you do feel led, it would be appreciated if God puts it on your heart to support what I'm doing and helping expose these pedophile networks. It sure would mean a lot. But the prayers, more than anything, the prayers for protection, the prayers for protection for my family, the prayers, excuse me, hold on. The prayers that the Lord will unravel and uncover things for me as I dig forward. This new investigation I'm doing, I already have a pile of evidence. There's connections to Harvey Weinstein, very high up murders that have never been solved. A known pedophile network that I've discussed before. It all starts to connect, and it's like a spider web that branches out. All right. And so anyways, the point is, okay, is that we have got to move past the idea of that Epstein is the only thing going on. Epstein is not the only thing going on. Epstein is a small thread that you can begin to pull, okay, and then things start to unravel, kind of like that wizard. Do you want to destroy my sweater? Watch it unravel as I walk away. That's what we're doing. We're pulling that thread and we're unraveling the sweater. There's little bits and pieces in the Epstein files, yes. But is it the meat and potatoes? Absolutely not. And people have got to tell everybody that they know that there's a bigger picture, absolutely a bigger picture. So with that being said, give me a moment here. I'm going back to my file here. All over the place, there's stories about children being shipped around and things like that. Like this gentleman right here is a witness to hearing children screaming in shipping containers. Listen to what he has to say.
Because I don't think we also have another major issue going on in our ports right now, and I just wanted to speak on it because I don't think a lot of people understand why they're striking. One of the major reasons I've been seeing coming out of videos and reports from people talking about it is that they get tired of hearing children screaming inside the containers. Yeah, you heard that right. The workers are striking, and one of the main reasons is they're tired of hearing humans being shipped over and screaming and banging on the inside of the shipping containers to get out. I understand we have a serious human trafficking issue in this country. I just did not think it was this bad. Never once did it cross my mind we need to be checking shipping containers for people. Can you imagine how long somebody's been inside of one of those, depending on how long they were waiting to dock? No heat, no air, nothing. I pray for the workers of the ports because I don't think they signed up to deal with people. Pretty sure they were just supposed to move cargo and goods. This is crazy, y'all.
So, there's that. And then even footage coming out to where, they're finding children in semis. And this is in London. Dear Jesus, dear Jesus.
Make video, send it to me. Maybe Pakistan or Bangladesh, Afghanistan.
Human trafficking is the most lucrative business on the planet, and it's all under the table. It's all it's all black money, like in the sense of, you know, it's untraceable income. And this is what the New World Order is using to fund their operations to be able to create a one world government. All right, it's not just the drugs, it's not just the pornography. And I mean, like, all these different websites that people go to watch pornography. You are fueling the monster. You are funding the machine that is going to be your own demise eventually one day. All right, and the reality is that they use, you know, humans, trafficking, whether it's through forced labor or sex trafficking, you know, they, or even organ harvesting, okay, to fund the New World Order, because it's all off the books. And so people have to understand why this is happening, because they're building a New World Order for the Antichrist, and it's all off the blood of the children. I've told you from the very get-go, the biggest commodity in the world is not drugs, it's not sex, it's not money, it is the blood of the children. It is literally down to the medical field, the blood of the children. And it is horrific that we see images like this where children are literally being taken off a semi. So I just wanted you to see that at the ground level, like, I have footage that I'm not going to show you, but this is not one of those channels where you're going to get a feel-good message all the time. There's times where I'll do a sermon and I'll let you know how much Jesus loves you, and I'll you know, I'll give you a pat on the back, you know, and we'll pray and all that stuff. But there's times where I feel this fire burning in me from the Lord that's telling me to tell them the truth, Josh. Tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. They need to understand they need a closer relationship with me, and why they need a closer relationship with me, why their children need a closer relationship with me. And that is part of what I do. But I have, so what I'm about to say is very graphic. And so if you need to turn it off, I understand. But they literally, there's even footage of on these shipping ports where they open up a shipping container and baby body parts start falling out of the shipping container, and everybody starts vomiting. All right, like, there's footage out there of this stuff going out. This stuff's real, and it's happening. All right, and you know, people not knowing about it and not standing up against it and being educated about what's happening doesn't know justice. We have got to, and I'm really proud of the people on this channel, because they're some of the most toughest warriors on the face of the planet. If you can hear the stuff that Josh from End Times Talk tells you, you can hear anything. And kudos to you. Like, for real, you're some of the strongest, most elite warriors in Christ out there, in my opinion. You have my respect. But I'll tell you, it's just, you know, it even gets into this whole Antifa movement and things. Like, they're even like these groups of pedophiles. The reason they're raging against the machine like they are is because they have something that a skeleton in their closet. There's a lady named Pam Hepfel, and she is a known Antifa member. She's like one of these higher up women that is in Antifa. She's an elderly lady, and I even have video footage of her saying that, you know, a 12-year-old can consent, or even a 7-year-old can consent. And I'm going to show you that footage now.
This is trans and Antifa activist Pam Hemphill.
I can't handle this anymore. I keep seeing that Trump is winning every time you go down there and talk to Tommy.
And this piece of human excrement is also Pam Hemphill.
8-year-old man having sex with a 12-year-old girl?
If you were the father
10-year-old?
of the 12-year-old and said it was okay, then that's the father's.
So you think
they do. They know right from wrong.
They can consent at 7?
Yeah.
For sex?
Well, they know right from wrong.
If you ever really want.
So right there, he says at the age of 7 they can consent, and she's like, well, you know right from wrong. You are disgusting, Pam. You are disgusting. And she was one of the supposed January 6th prisoners. And when Trump pardoned everybody, she refused the pardon and stayed in prison. I don't know why. Maybe someone had dirt on her and told her that she needed to do what they wanted her to do. But even Mike Pence sent her like a letter of like congratulations for not accepting the pardon. And in my documentary, Mackinac Monarch 2, I show you evidence on how Mike Pence is a pedophile. All right. So if you want to go watch that, you can find out the evidence that's out there. All right. And, you know, we see the evidence with the administration that's in play right now. All right. But we see it. It's all over the place. It's you can't unsee with what the amount of stuff that's going on right now. But these people are sick and they're trying to take over. They're not just waging war against America to destroy a political party. They're waging war against America because they want to see the moral destruction of America. They want to see a man become a woman become a man, and they want to be able to see children getting their body parts chopped off, and they want to be able to molest children legally and rape children legally. That's what like NAMBLA and all that stuff is. That's an organization called the National American Man-Boy Love Association. Are you freaking kidding me? And then TV shows like South Park just make a joke out of it. They're trying to desensitize you. All this funny crap. Movies like That's My Boy, where a young man is having sex with his teacher. That is desensitization. All right. Movies like that Scary Movie 5, where a young girl, they insinuate that she's putting a popsicle in herself. I am sick of this crap, and it's time to call it out. They are trying to desensitize the public. That's exactly what they're doing. And there's even TED Talks like that, Just a Bird, where you have people saying it's not pedophilia anymore, it's minor attracted persons. That makes me sick and I want to vomit. That is absolutely vile and straight out of the pits of hell. But this is where everything's at. And because of that, everything else is beginning to fall apart. Everything else. You know, you have a country that is promoting this crap. And I mean, the same way, you know, God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, because it says the old men and the young men. All right. That's why our country's falling apart. And so with that being said, you know, they're building detention centers all over the place. They're supposedly for illegal immigrants. I get it. You know, got to detain them, and then that way you can deport them. All right. But here's the thing. If you pay close attention, they're not using trains to deport them. But every single detention center that's being built for the illegals, they're using it as a front, but they're putting it right where the train tracks are. Check this video out. That's the train tracks. And those are the detention centers. Look how it overlays. Look at that. Look at it. All the hubs. This is where the new detention centers are being put into place. And those are the Amtrak routes. Those are the railroad routes that we have. Isn't that interesting? Look at that. That's where it's overlaid. So people are celebrating people being detained and all that stuff. And you know what I mean? But what I'm saying right now is just like back in 9/11, it was terror, terrorism, terrorist, terror cell, homegrown terror, sleeper cells, all this stuff. And they said it over and over and over and over again in every single speech that George Bush Jr. gave us. I mean, everything that, Al Gore talked about, everything, all these different politicians like John McCain and all this stuff. It was terror, terror, terror. But then eventually they flipped the script. And they put it into where it was like homegrown terrorism now. Now it's no longer the jihadis, the people who are making a holy war, killing people in the name of their God. Now it's, just the average day American citizen that's against the government has become the terrorist. And then now it's gone from that. Now they're promoting the leftist terrorists and saying that's okay. But if you're a right wing or conservative Christian, now all of a sudden you've become the terrorist. And then they're going to flip the script again, and then they're going to say Christians are the terrorists. Mark my words. That's what will happen in the Great Tribulation. That's how they're going to run it. Mark my words. And so right now, they're detaining people, and they're getting you used to the imaging of people being detained because they let them in. Problem, reaction, solution. Okay, but then all of a sudden they're gonna flip the script, and they're gonna start rounding up Americans. Heck, I've heard of instances where they already are. All right. And they're going to flip the script on you once again. And I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I'm not liberal. I'm not conservative. I believe in Jesus. I'm on the side of Jesus and Jesus alone. And I see what's happening. All right. And our cities are falling. Everything is falling apart at the seams. We have people who have Epstein connections that are the mayor of New York now, Mondani, and his mom, Myra Nair, where she is literally on the Epstein files multiple times, pictures with Jeffrey Epstein and stuff that I've shown. All right. And with little baby Zoran. Okay. And this dude is taking hold. And then if you go and you look at what's happening in New York right now, the trash is piled up 5 feet high on the side of the road, not even being taken care of. I mean, they're finding dead people being literally dismembered all over the place. It's like a thing now all of a sudden. It's like a thing now all of a sudden where they're literally finding dead people that have been dismembered. I'm telling you, we are absolutely falling apart at the seams, and everybody's walking around like everything is normal. It is not normal anymore. We're not in Kansas anymore. Heck, we're not even in Oz. I mean, we're literally so far gone, you could stick a fork in us. We're so done right now. And that's where we're at as a country. All right, to the point where, you know, you remember, like I talked about yesterday, about how there's a, there was a biolab that was found in California a few years back. And I told you back then, I said, there's going to be more. Mark my words. And all of a sudden, there's a biolab in Vegas that's coming out of the woodworks where they're finding out that, you know, that it was a Chinese national of someone who was Chinese Communist Party that was responsible for this biolab. Check this video out.
Good afternoon. I'm Sheriff Kevin McMahill with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. With me today is the Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Christopher Delzato, the Chairman of the Clark County Commission, Commissioner Michael Naft, and then Deputy Chief of the Fire Department, Chief Holding. First off, I would like to just make sure that our Southern Nevada community clearly understands this, that this is an isolated incident and there is no threat to the public as we stand here today. Our joint investigation early this morning at approximately 5:51 began when the LVMPD SWAT team served a search warrant on a house on Sugar Springs Drive in northeast Las Vegas. The warrant was related to information that a possible biological laboratory was inside of the residence. At the same time, our partners from the FBI searched their nearby home on Temple View Drive. There was no threat found at that home. And as you'll notice playing next to me while I'm talking, you'll see some of the video from our two SWAT teams conducting those raids. However, at the Sugar Springs Drive home, our teams went inside and found evidence of possible biological material, including refrigerators with vials containing unknown liquids. Our all-hazard armor team is working hand in hand along with all of the hazmat teams locally, along with the FBI, the fire departments, and all of our state partners to ensure proper recovery and mitigation of these items. This is an extremely complex investigation, obviously involving multiple agencies and a tremendous amount of resources. I want to make sure that those folks that live up there in that northeast area have a clear understanding that the very large first responder presence will likely remain in this neighborhood for several hours and potentially even days. This has to be a slow and methodical process by design. We have to take these situations very seriously, and we take all necessary precautions to keep our personnel and community safe. I would like to thank the...
So my point is that he even said it has ties to the Californian biolab that was found. All right. And hold on, give me a second here. You even see here where it's talking about a illegal biolab owned by Chinese nationals was located in Las Vegas. The CDC identified at least 20 potentially infectious agents, including HIV, tuberculosis, and the deadliest form of malaria, a refrigerator labeled Ebola was later discovered. The lab stated purpose was selling test kits, but it mainly imported and resolved counterfeit kits from China. So people, I'm sorry, but like the test kits, like the ones that you rip open and you stick way up your nose, I find that kind of interesting that they'll go that far. Now, here's the video to that. And you can see all the stuff that they had laying around. And they're in hazmat suits, people. That's how serious it is. Hazmat suits. Look at that. Isn't that cute? And this is right in a house. In a house. And it was tied to the Chinese lab that was in California that was at a warehouse. They have a network of these around the country. They literally have a network of these around the country. I mean, this is like some outbreak type of gear that they're wearing. And you can see all the stuff in the fridges and everything. And here's the thing that's really scary about it all. All right. They said, all right, and I quote, that they had plans to basically disperse this stuff and to get it out there and to spread it. We have Chinese nationals here, CCP, that are here to cause a pandemic. A pandemic is coming. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Because if there's two houses, there's more. And I told you back when there was a warehouse, just a warehouse. I told you there'd be another one, and here we are. A year later, year and a half later, here it is. They've been working really hard. That's insane. Absolutely insane. And so this is where we're at. And then, not to mention that Nipah virus stuff going on. You know, they say it's contained, but there's like 13 nations or whatever that are completely freaking out about Nipah virus. And let me see if I can find, just real quick. I'm only going to do like one or two searches here. Yeah, so right here, this is just, give me a moment. Let me show you this. Well, actually, I can't, but I can show you like pictures through it. I'm not going to play it because I don't want it to give me problems. Hold on 1 second. So you can go and you can find this NTA network, Nipah virus alert, Pakistan tightens airport health checks amid regional concerns. And it's all over the place. It's Thailand. It's all over the place. You see, they're literally screening people at airports like they did during COVID. Just like they did during COVID. That's what's going on. That's the level of where we're at now. They say it's completely contained, but they are literally freaking out in multiple countries across Asia. Let me see here if I can find the list of countries. Give me a moment here. Trying to pull something up. Hi, Nuki Poo. How you doing, big boy? My dog just came in and laid on his dog bed in my office. I love having a dog bed in here because I love looking over and seeing him relax, and he'll always be laying on his back or something. I love it. It's so cute. All right, so and now I want to state something here Give me a moment because I have to look up a comment while that's doing its thing. So hold on one second here. Because Brother Will put up something that really interested me. It was a comment that made a lot of sense. And I'm going to go to that. Hold on one second. All right. So Brother Will, which one? All right. Okay, right here it is. So I'm gonna show it to you. I'll share the screen real quick. Hold on. Getting really full here. Stop screen. Share screen. This is my video I did the other day, and if you have not seen it, I suggest watching it. It's called Nipah virus. I don't trust what they're saying. Here's why. All right, but down here, Brother Will makes a really good comment. He says, based on data from early 2026, approximately 8,000 passengers fly from the USA to India, just to India, and then there's 8,000 that fly back, all right, every day. Travel between the two nations has reached record levels, with India now serving as the second largest overseas source market for the United States. Key daily travel statistics. Sorry. Key daily travel statistics for 2026 passenger volume, roughly 8,000 people travel each way daily, totaling about 16,000 daily travelers on the U.S.-India corridor. Total annual volume, the U.S. remains India's top source of international visitors, with approximately 1.8 million to 2.1 million annual travelers as of recent from 2025 to 2026 forecasts. So if you haven't seen this video, I do suggest watching it, okay? And it's called Nipah virus. I don't trust what they're saying. It's just a couple of lives ago that I did it, all right? Because I come out with some really important information. I'll even show you right now. Here's the back quarter that I come out with, all right? And it's the occult symbolism is there, as above, so below. All right, the occult symbolism is there for as above, so below. And so you have a microcosm, all right, which would be COVID-19, which is the top one. That's the microcosm, okay? And then you have a macrocosm, which is the big one. So you have the reverse side. It's the same thing like we were talking about with Jeffrey Epstein in the mirror, okay? All right, it literally is talking about it's just talking about that reflection, okay? And the same thing with like in Washington, D.C., in front of all those monuments, they always have a reflection pool because it's supposed to reflect the spiritual realm, okay? So there's that as above, so below. And it even gets into as in the heavens, so let it be in the earth, all right? But this is an occult saying, not let, let it be on earth as it is in heaven, like it talks about in the Lord's Prayer. That's completely different. As above, so below is an occult saying. Well, it's an esoteric occult saying. So you get the idea that there's two coming, all right, because they told us with the back quarter that was released in 2020 during the pandemic, all right, and here's the link for the video that Just a Bird just put up, and you can you can add that to your queue. But so you get the idea, though, what I'm trying to say, all right, is that there's that tomato, you know what I mean? I believe there's a second one coming, and I showed this during that other live, but even Bill Gates said this.
So we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
So they told us what they're going to do. They told us there's going to be another one. And I had a dream. I had a dream 7 years before the COVID-19 pandemic. And in that, there was symbolism that led me to believe there would be two different pandemics that would happen. And that's why I will not back off the idea that there's a second pandemic coming. I don't know when it's going to happen. I can't tell you absolutes, but I know they have one planned. All right. Absolutely, they have one planned. All right. So, there's that. Now, with that being said, give me a moment here. Moving forward. I find it really disgusting in Islam, okay, that they're going to the schools now and giving out little goodies, little Muslim Islamic goodies to the children, because they're trying to indoctrinate your children at school. Listen what this young man has to say.
Hello, tell me the story. What happened today at school?
Okay, so I'm Marco. I'm the president of the High School Republicans at Wiley East High School. And today there was an organization called Why Islam that had a huge table booth in the front of our school today. And they were giving hijabs to girls out throughout the high school. And they were giving out Qurans. And they also had pamphlets about Sharia law and other Islamic things. And they were giving out these bags. And I had a discussion with the women that were there, and we're trying to understand what's going on.
Was everybody in a hijab?
So they were passing out to as much, girls as they could. So that was their goal.
How many students took those bags?
I don't have an exact number of how many people took them, but I can say that they were trying to get as much out as they could.
And it was during the school day, right?
Yes, it was during lunch.
During lunch.
And we typically have colleges come out, or we have our clubs have tables, but we've never had a faith group, to my understanding.
So Christians have never been allowed to come?
Not from what I've seen. I've never seen churches or Bibles passed out. I can't confirm that that's 100%, but what I can say is that this was a big thing that they wanted to push out today.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me know.
Thank you.
There's a fundamental restructuring happening in this country, and Islam is taking over. All right, because I've always said I believe that Islam is going to be the method of the madness and how the Antichrist will use them to arise, but then he's going to turn away from the gods of his fathers. I've gotten into who I believe the Antichrist is, where I think he's coming from, and all those teachings are on my channel. You can find them. All right, but my point is that I believe Islam is the method of the madness and how they're going to bring it about. Okay, and that's why it's got such a resurgence taking place, and it's growing. They've already burned all the bridges in their own countries, and people understand what Sharia law is and the abuse and the violence and the straight up pedophilia that it is. All right, and because I'm showing this stuff, I am going to show another video here in a moment that's really troubling. But I want you to see this one first, where this woman from Lebanon, which used to be a Christian nation, well, it wasn't just a Christian nation. They allowed Christianity in Lebanon. It was one of the few in the Middle East that allowed Christianity. And you can look this up. There are Christians that live in Lebanon. All right. So this can all be confirmed. But I want you to hear what this woman has to say. And I want you, as she's talking, to think about what's happening in America and how it's happening in America, because I'm trying to educate you as to what's actually going on. Listen up.
I come from a country, Lebanon used to be the only majority Christian country in the Middle East. Most people don't know that. When they think of the Middle East, they think it's all Islamic countries. But Lebanon is the only majority Christian country in the Middle East. We were open-minded, we were fair. We prided ourselves on our multiculturalism. We welcomed everyone to our country, especially from the surrounding Arabic countries, because we wanted to share with them the westernization which we had created in the heart of the Middle East. Muslims used to send their children to come study in our universities because we had built the best universities in the Middle East. They graduated and worked in our economy. Because we had built the best economy in the Middle East, even though we did not have any oil. Lebanon was known as Paris of the Middle East, the banking capital of the Middle East. And as Christians, we focused on education. Education was very important to us. You know, we educated girls and boys, you know, no difference. We were living the good time. Unfortunately, all that began to change by the 70s because of two things. The enlargement of the Islamic population in Lebanon, because we Christians marry one spouse until death do us part. We don't have many kids. Muslims, on the other hand, are allowed to marry up to 4 wives at a time. Now, of course, not all of them do it, but enough of them do it that in our country, in Lebanon, by the 70s, the Muslims became the majority. And once they became the majority, they started massacring the Christians and killing the Christians. I remember in 19...
You hear that? Once they became the majority, they started slaughtering the Christians. All right? I think someone should do the research as how many Muslim people are here versus how many Christians are here.
74, we stopped traveling. We used to go spend Christmas and Easter in Beirut with the rest of my family. And we stopped traveling, and I would ask my father, why aren't we going to Beirut for Christmas this year? And my daddy would say to me, well, we just decided to stay home this year. And I couldn't understand why. And later I learned is because Muslims started setting up fly-by-night checkpoints, and they would stop Christian cars traveling. And when they would get people out of the car and look at their ID and find out that this is a Christian family traveling, because in Lebanon, our religion is written on our national ID, on your driver's license, on your passport. So when they see that this is a Christian family traveling, they would get everyone out of the car and shoot them in cold blood. So we became prisoners to our homes and our cities and our communities. And that's the reason why we stopped going anywhere. By 1975, that's when the war broke out, the Civil War. And the war broke out because Muslims...
I want to say this real quick to Joppy, and I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna share a screen with you real quick. There are mosques in Georgia. Yes, there are many mosques in Georgia, USA, particularly in the metro Atlanta area, which has estimated about 35 mosques and a significant Muslim population. So I just wanted to give you that real quick, Joppy, because I love you, man.
Walked into a church on a Sunday morning and began shooting at Christian worshipers, and injured hundreds and killed 4 people. And that's what started out the all-out war. And it was a very difficult time for the Christians, because as the Muslims organized and now supported by the oil money flowing out of Saudi Arabia and all the Muslim countries, they wanted to basically use Lebanon as a base from which to fight Israel, kill the Jews and drive them into the sea, using Lebanese democracy and Lebanese open-mindedness and tolerance to do exactly that. And that's
extremist, Islamist, fundamentalist, I would only vote left.
Why is that?
I saw them as very stupid. I would fear the conservatives because they come with principle. That's not someone they can brainwash. But the left, I know they have no values and no principles to begin with. I dare you to find one Islamic extremist that votes for Donald Trump. Never do it. They'd give their vote to the leftist who wants to run around in pride parades. And Islamic extremists are against gays and homosexuals and transgenders, but they want the left to go and get busy with that. They want them, go speak about the climate, go speak about abortion, go kill yourselves, go do that. Ilhan Omar, she's fighting for abortion rights, and all the other, my body, my choice, yes, go do that. But would she have an abortion? Never. Never. Would she kill a Muslim in her stomach? Never.
What is the fundamentalist and jihadi agenda for America?
The future of America has to be Muslim.
You heard it. You heard it.
My world turned upside down, and it changed. Lebanon was so multi-faith and multicultural. So we had Druze, Muslims, Christians, Protestant. The majority were Christians. We were over almost 70% Christians when we got our independence in the 40s. But because of the way Muslims multiply, with the multiple wives and multiple kids, in 30 years, they became the majority. Mm-hmm. And when we got our independence from France and Lebanon, because we are, Judeo-Christians, come from Judeo-Christian culture, we're very fair. So we made sure we divided the government to make sure that Muslims have representation. So the president of the country was Christian, the prime minister was a Muslim, the prime minister, the secretary of state. We had different assignments for different religions. But the Muslims became the majority. And once they became the majority, they were no longer tolerant of the people who took them in and accepted them and included them in the country. They felt they were not a part of the country. They felt they were a part of the Islamic Ummah or the Islamic nation. So when they turned against their brethren Christians who lived in the same country, and Jews, but specifically the Christians, they began massacring us in large numbers because they thought we are in power now and therefore we set the rules on how things should be.
So I think we can learn a lot of lessons from what this lady talked about what happened in Lebanon. And I do want to give Joppy some information because he said, thankfully, they're not in South Georgia yet, but they're in Atlanta, they're in Augusta and Kennesaw, and other locations. Smaller communities and Islamic centers exist in parts of the state, including suburban areas like Marietta and Kennesaw. So they're definitely around all over the place. I don't think any state is exempt, and that's the point I'm trying to make, from how hard they're trying to infiltrate America with radical Islam. And so because of that, and I want to be able to put information out there as to what radical Islam truly is, because just the other day we had someone where they were saying that, that they're we have to get along with Muslims. We can get along with Arabs, absolutely, but we're not supposed to bow down to two masters. I bow down to Jesus and Jesus alone. And anybody who's against that and would violently overthrow because I have my faith in Jesus, I have a problem with that, and I don't have to coexist with those forms of people. All right, especially when those people will marry children. And I showed this video yesterday. I'm going to show it again because people need to know what radical Islam is, not just the violence, but the perversion side of it as well. So what I'm about to show you is very graphic. It's very heart-wrenching. It's very heartbreaking, but it's the truth and the reality of what goes on inside radical Islam. It's really hard to see something like that. I show those things, though, because we as Christians cannot be ignorant of what the devil is doing and how he's operating. The sharper we are, the more damage we can inflict on the enemy while he's trying to overtake our nation. That's exactly what it is. This was supposed to be founded on God here. And I know that there was occult people here from the very beginning trying to put their 2 cents in, but we sent more missionaries all across the globe than any other nation combined. And it's absolutely insane how far America has fallen in such a short period of time. 250 years is all it took. 250 years is all it took for a nation to begin to fall. I mean, we've been falling, but I mean, we're in full blown. It feels like just completely the bottom of this thing is falling out from beneath us. And it just absolutely breaks my heart what's going on right now. And I don't see anybody really standing up for the kids. They're exposing, things and whatnot, and they're doing their work that the Lord has called them to do. But this is part of what God has called me to do, is to stand up for the children, to educate people about what's happening in child trafficking, especially child trafficking. And so that's an important aspect to I think being alive in these times, is being educated and to know how to stand against this stuff and know how to see it when it's happening and calling it out. I'm done with the way that they're doing this stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna be honest. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't know much about Erica Kirk, but Charlie Kirk was based. And I don't care who you are, I'll always think of Charlie Kirk as a brother in Christ. All right. And listen to this, what's happening, because you need to hear it. You need to be educated.
A missionary family to Mexico who were with cartel members. We see them convert to Christianity, saying how they traffic thousands of children, specifically to Democratic politicians. And they actually said the biggest client for their product is the U.S. government, and that actually exploded under the Biden administration.
Wait, so the cartels were telling your family they
were directly in prison.
They were trafficking kids to Democrats?
Yes.
So it's legit. Cartels are trafficking kids as sex slaves for Democrats?
Yes.
Is this modern day slavery?
Yes, they are.
So just to give some detail for the audience.
Yes, sir.
You have an 11-year-old girl.
Yes.
What do they do with that girl?
They actually have to hide her. We were in Coahuila, which is where the Zetas were at. They just got eliminated, but they were the biggest traffickers. They actually kind of begin to dismantle under the Trump presidency, even for the Mexican government. But the biggest we've known people that had to leave states, hide them, literally take them, like just completely.
And these girls become prostitutes
100%.
at 12 years old.
Yeah, parents have sold their kids into it just to survive.
So when you hear that 320,000 kids have gone missing under Kamala Harris.
100% accurate. We see thousands and thousands of migrants on top of trains coming across, just destroying everything across the path.
Do they mean America well or harm?
Absolutely harm.
So the cartel works with the American government
100%. So
to bring these kids as sex slaves. Yeah.
Yes.
This is not a joke, everybody.
This is not.
We've been saying this for a long time.
You guys can go. We have Facebook pages and everything.
It's the largest sex slave trade in the world history.
100%.
And Kamala Harris is overseeing it and co-signing on it.
And that's the truth. It's not just the Muslims, but I've heard there's a documentary out there called The Eyes of the Devil. Very difficult documentary to watch. It takes a very strong individual to watch such a thing. But in that, you find out that they can't have these pedophile rings without Islam. They can't, because some of these Islamic countries are set up to where they funnel the kids into them. They give them new identities, and then they bring them back out, and that's where they transfer them around the world to the child brothels all over the world. All right, there's a whole network to this and how this operates, and this kid is based. Charlie is based. All right. And I'm so thankful that men like these guys, and this little homie G right here, he's a man. He might be young, but he's a man. He knows what he's talking about. He knows more than most adults do about the truth of what's happening right now. And most Christians, they just want to stick their head in the sand and, oh man, just leave me alone and let me only believe and think of the rapture. People who don't even want to spend time with Jesus, they just want to focus on the rapture. Well, I'm sorry, but there's a lot that's going to happen that people aren't prepared for in the days ahead, all right, leading up to the rapture, all right? And I'm trying to educate people on what's going on so we can make an impact while we're still here. Each and every child that gets that gets spared from these trafficking rings. And like, say for instance, like you have a trafficking ring. If we can throw a monkey wrench into the trafficking ring, then they have to operate differently. And through operating differently, some of these kids might be able to come out of it. And when the kids come out of it, we need to be there to catch them when they're falling. All right. And when they're broken. All right. And instead, you have the New Age movement, and you have the witches and all this stuff, the green witches. They're still witches, okay? And they're all there to catch these kids and catch these abuse victims. But the Christians, because they're so pacifist and they only want to hear a feel-good message, they're not there to catch these victims. And these victims still are in the cycle of the occult being used and abused, but it's on a mental level rather than just a physical level, like it was, being involved in rituals and satanic things and things like that. All right. Then once they're brought out of the physical abuse, then the spiritual abuse starts, and they don't understand what they're going through. All right. And these people are really going through heavy duty stuff. All right. And we as Christians have got to be there to catch them and to love them and to nurture them and to be there for them. I had a brother in Christ that I love very much rebuke me for a couple of things that I did in my documentary, and for things and for people that I allowed to be a part of it and this and that, because they weren't a Christian. Well, I'm sorry, but God has a plan. And if God can't use Christians to do it, he's going to use the enemy to spite the enemy, if that's what it's going to be. All right. And it's just where we're at right now. And we as Christians have got to get educated and understand what's going on and do our part to try to expose these things, especially to the younger generations and things like that. Like I had a gentleman over on X just recently watch my newest documentary, and he had said, he put one word when he reposted it, and he just said, ouch. Like I hit that. I can confidently say I hit that ball out of the park when it come to the last documentary I did. The last 2 documentaries I did really hit it out of, I think even last 3 I did. But this one, this one's a different one that I'm working on now. And this one is way less known. It's a way less known network. And the islands in Michigan are very key. They're very key areas. And so I'm willing to go into these areas, just help put me into these areas if God puts it on your heart. And I'm not making money. This all goes for the documentaries. It's not like I'm benefiting at all. In fact, I'm putting myself in danger. I just need the funding to be able to do it. So I'm asking people, if you got a heart for children and if you feel led by the Lord, even $5 helps. I'm serious. I'm not even halfway to what I need to be able to do this project. All right. And so my point is that with all these things going on, we have got to get educational videos out there, like with what I'm making. We have to talk about it in the open. We got to stop being scared of the enemy and stop being scared to talk about the difficult subjects, because in doing so and being scared about it, we're not doing the Christian movement, the kingdom of Christ, the kingdom of God any justice, not answering questions. And because the rest of the world sees, I'm going to be honest with you, the rest of the world sees Christians as cowards. All right. And it's just the reality of it. I don't want to be known as a coward. I want to be known that even if I was to die tomorrow for what I stood up for, that I died standing on my feet. That's what I want to do. I want to be known that even if I was to get taken out tomorrow for what I do, for what I expose, that I'm going to die standing on my feet, not groveling or begging on my knees, or have my head in the sand with my rear end sticking up in the air. All right. I'm going to die standing on my feet with my chin held high, because I know I did my part. I can say when I stand before God asked me, did you do what I asked you to do? And I said, I did everything I possibly could with what I had to do it with. And I'm sorry I get emotional, but it's how I feel. This is a raw channel. This isn't scripted. This isn't fictitious. This isn't something that's just cooked up to make you feel good. This is to stir your soul, towards God, and to stir your soul to do something about where you're at in life, to do something about where God has put you in life, and to be an active, on fire Christian that's roaring like a lion in these last days. All right. That's how I feel about it. All right. And that's my agenda. I'm not here to make subscribers and make a bunch of friends and be Mr. Popular and be liked by everybody, because Jesus wasn't even liked by his own people. Even Judas turned his back on Jesus. All right. So I'm not here to make friends. And I'm, even though God has brought some amazing people into my life, I'm not going to lie. But I am not here to be popular. I'm not here to have 100,000 subscribers or 50,000 subscribers. I'm fine being a humble channel, but I want to be an effective, humble channel. All right. So that's where I stand on it, because I mean, the crap's falling apart, and things are coming out more and more and more. And the people do not see what's coming. They don't have the slightest clue. The system that's getting ready to take over. All right. And they're using the violence in the streets. They're using the pedophilia. They're using all of this to take over. And they're implementing it slowly but surely. And our freedoms are being eroded away slowly but surely. And if we don't stand up for something, we're going to fall for anything. And I think that this poem that this gentleman wrote sums it all up best. And I really want every single Christian that's here today, I want every single person that's watching this to finish listening to this, because this is a truly important poem that this man wrote. I think it's brilliant.
First to arrive were the cameras installed to protect both you and me in places that we weren't that threatened, and yet the people didn't see. And what followed were traffic restrictions to keep the roads quiet and clean. The maths didn't add up, nor the science, but still, the people didn't see. And next came the 15-minute neighbourhoods to make our lives easier, decreed. To some, it seemed like restrictions, but still, the people didn't see. And then came the digital ID, so convenient, easy and free. Your life in one chip on a mainframe, and still, the people didn't see. The cars they sold were electric, all wired to the government PC. And they switched off the driving on Sundays, and still, the people didn't see. And the banks moved their money to digital, and the government banned cash the next week. And the ability to fly was restricted, and still, the people didn't see. They linked up your money and profile to the ID on the government PC, and connected it to social media, and still, the people didn't see. And then came a new cure, a new virus, safe and effective, and free. They linked these jabs to your profile and connected the government PC. And when the people were locked in their cities, policed by their digital ID, unable to visit their loved ones, now, finally, the people can see. Restricted and tracked with no money. To go further, a permit you'll need, contained in your digital city. Oh, why did the people not see? These steps they've sold us as progress never looked to be quite what they seemed. And if you don't ask the questions in protest, then your children will never know free. There's no adverts on this video, so please get it shared.
You hear that? That last part of what he said, then your children will never know free. And that goes for the traffic children. That goes for the traffic children. I feel like, even though I know I'm out of the matrix, I feel like I'm still in the matrix. And this video that's out there, it talks about the Epstein files, and yeah, that applies, because I know what's going on. I'm awake to what's going on. All right. But I literally feel like this guy at this party and everybody else is having fun. And this is how I really feel right now. And especially when it comes to Christians, I'm going to be honest with you. And that's how I feel. I feel like I'm in a room of people that are having a good time, worried about themselves. And I'm standing there and I'm like, what? Huh? It's literally how I feel. And I know there's a lot of people that stand with me. That comment means a lot, Tony Henderson. Why not support Brother Josh? He's doing it from the heart, and it's dangerous. But he's being led to do it. I've noticed many would rather support these fake YouTubers and make them rich. And Patty says, a lot of these people take the money offered instead of standing up for what would Jesus do. That's very true. And I mean, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you when it comes to the funds for this. I'm you know, it's I'm about I'm about 20% the way there of what I need. About 25%, 25% at the most. I'm at this point at the rate, like when it comes time to actually going and doing the investigation, I actually have a couple investigations I'm going to do, but one of them I'm kind of keeping under wraps, and it's more of a biblical based thing that I'm doing, but it's important because we have to glorify God. We have to show people that the Bible is real, and we have to lead people to Jesus Christ. But I'll never stop exposing the networks, even if it comes from my own dime and I have to go into debt to make it happen. You know, I have a last ditch effort that's a credit card, and I'll go into debt to make it happen. But it would be much easier for me to not have to see it come out of, you know, my family's the sweat of my family's back. So, you know, even $5 helps. If everybody today that watches this video, there could be probably, I don't know, we'll just say 7, 8, 900 people watch this video. If everybody gave $1, it would make it happen literally in a day. In $1, you can find that in your couch, you know, find the change in cushions. So I'm just kind of putting it into perspective, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I can't really do it without the help of God's people, you know, and I understand the economy right now. I get it. It's a scary time. I totally get it. But investing your money in the kingdom of Christ in a documentary that's going to be seen by tens of thousands of people. The last Mackinac Monarch 1 saw 35,000 views on X alone. It saw 3,000 something on YouTube, and then Mackinac Monarch 2 saw almost 40,000 views now, and it's got a little bit over, I think, 2,000 on YouTube, and then it's over on Rumble. It's got 1,000 something views on Rumble, and then it's over on Facebook, and it's got I can't remember what the numbers were over there. It's on BitChute as well, and I still have to put the new one over on BitChute. But you know, it's got, like, you know, BitChute is very little watched. There's not a lot of people watching that, but so I mean, it's going to be seen by anywhere from 30 to 40 to 50,000 people. So it's going to educate people. It's not some small thing. Actually, the documentary that I did, Interlocked It, at the time, had 11,000 people. There was one photograph I used in it that was the wrong photograph of somebody, you know, and so I had to go back and edit that out and put the right photograph in because it was something somebody else noticed, which I appreciate. You know, I needed to fix that, and I didn't know that it was off, and so I went back and fixed it. So the number tally is starting all over again. But still, at this point, the new one has over 11,000 views. All right. And so, you know, it's not that you're not going to get the documentary's not going to get viewed. I had one lady, you know, I'm not going to say who, she helped support in Mackinac Monarch 2. And she said it was dismal numbers. Well, here's the thing. The dismal numbers were on YouTube, where I'm censored the most. I am censored on YouTube, all right, more than any other platform. I'm not censored so much on X, and I know a lot of big name people over on X. I've shown where the co-host for the Alex Jones show watched my documentary. I put that up on my and he liked my documentary. I put that up on the post section. Sean Atwood, who has well over 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube, liked my documentary, and he even added me on YouTube. Mr. Truthbomb liked my documentary. Researchers like Kirby Summers watched my documentary and liked it. So big name people, you know, have you know, watched my documentary. It's getting out there, and I think the numbers are actually bigger, but they're actually like trying to silence the documentary in a way that they think that it's not. They're trying to demoralize me. All right. I do have a Cash App, but it's through somebody else. I do have a Cash App, but it's through somebody else. And if you email me, I can get you that Cash App. I just don't give it out because it's not my Cash App. But I have a person that will accept Cash App for me, and then they PayPal it to me. So I do have that. I have Venmo, Zelle, and Cash App in that way, but you'd have to email me for me to give that out. And then I do have a PayPal that's right on my thing. And so I'm very appreciative of whoever has supported any of my documentaries. I'm so thankful because they wouldn't happen without having the support of God's people. It just wouldn't happen. And I can tell you right now that when you support something like this and you back up somebody who is willing to put their neck on the chopping block for the children, God sees that and he's going to multiply that. Even if it's, I know some people don't believe in tithe, but even if it's a love gift or tithe or whatever, you know what I mean? Back me up and I will do the job. I have always done what I said I was going to do. Everything I've ever told people I'm going to do. All right. When and the documentaries that I've done, I said, hey, I'm doing this. It's going to happen. You know what I mean? I end up following through with it every single time. And this new one is no different. All right. And actually there's like I said, there's two different projects that I'm trying to fund. One I'm keeping completely secret because I don't want the enemy to know. But the other one, I am investigating an island. All right. And the pedophile network that was operating on the island, there was 3 individuals that I know their names, and they actually had called this island the Island of Lost Boys. All right. So anyways, I'm putting that out there, and this is my PayPal, but it can be just paypal.me/end times talk. That simple. paypal.me/end times talk. So it's, but it's, if you go to, and I'm sorry, I'm holding up the show, but give me a moment here. Share screen. I'll do this. Pull up my channel here, and wait, this is the wrong one. Sorry. I didn't have my channel pulled up. I'll pull it up right here and show you where that's at. Hold on a second. So if you go to my main page right here, this is my PayPal right here. You just click this. So this is, you just type in End Times Talk. This is my main page. You can see that I'm live. You see my shorts, my videos. Here's the new documentary right here that I had to put back up 18 hours ago. But all you got to do is click right here, and it takes you right to my PayPal. And then here's the send button right here. I don't know if you're seeing that. Nope, you're not seeing it. Hold on. It'll take you right to my PayPal, which is right here. And then all you got to do is click send, and then you can, punch that in or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's my PayPal right here, Josh H. And then you can find that on my page right here. It's the first of 4 links. It's got my Rumble, my Twitter, my Facebook, and then obviously my music channel that I made. And that's at the top there. So just putting that out there. Now on with the show, because I don't want to just keep focusing on, raising funds. This isn't, a telethon or anything like that. So I want to get back to what I was talking about. But anyways, back to talking about the celebrities and stuff. Now, I don't know if anybody knows who Chrissy Teigen is, but she's on the Epstein list, and she's part of the Diddy list. And I have a video that just shows some, I don't know if this has music to it. So if it does, I'm going to have to pause it and scroll it. But this shows some of her posts that she was posting that's just outright out in the open. You see right here, this lady says, she says, I'm going to jail over pizza. All right. That blows my mind. And this lady's still walking free. All right. She's still walking free. Seeing little girls, I'm not even going to say that. I'm not even going to say what she's saying right there. I mean, look at this. They're right out in the open with it. This is vile, absolutely satanic. I mean, do you see how bold they are? How bold they are? I mean, this is disgusting. Look what she's saying right there. I'm not even going to repeat that. And she's aware of how absolutely disturbing that sounds. That is disgusting. So, I mean, that's just one celebrity and their bold statements just outright showing they're a pedophile. They're outright showing their true colors. You know? And I'm sorry we have to go so deep into things like this before I go into other stuff. But I mean, this is the state that the world is in. And like that young man said that was talking to Charlie Kirk, he said that the Democrats are the number one consumer of the trafficked children that come from South America. All right. So let me tell everybody this when it comes to PayPal. If you do it goods and services, I do not do goods and services. I don't have anything I'm selling. It's better to click friends and family, or PayPal will take a slice of the pie. And so friends and family, that when you send that, they won't take a fee out. But if you do it goods and services, that's when they take a fee out. So you don't want to send it and give PayPal money that you want to go for the documentary. You would want to send it friends and services and just say it's a love gift, because that's what it is. It's a love gift because you love the children and you love God and you want to help stand up for them. All right. I'm willing to put the work in, and I have the investigative skills to do it. So, all right, just adding that out, putting that out there. Now, with that being said, okay, I want to talk about the violence that's been happening in America. We've been kind of covering this, and I want to show how it's kind of progressing and things like that. But have checkpoints now. These people are talking about Nazis. Okay, they're calling the right Nazis, or they're calling ICE Nazis or whatever. They throw that term around really loosely, but then they go and do Nazi-like things like this.
Well, that I don't know.
You're good.
Can I drive? I got a red light.
So now we need permission to drive from these people?
Yep.
Can you back up slightly and go right?
Yeah, I could. If you'll leave, I'll go right. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean they're literally like the Gestapo. They want to see your papers, and they want to run your license plate. So how are they doing that? They have like a database, their own database they've developed. Well, we know that the police are helping them do that too. All right, and here's another video of a checkpoint. Absolutely crazy. I mean, look at it's a roundabout. It's what I've been talking about. It's literally a roundabout. It's not even a joke. It's a roundabout. I told you that the roundabouts would be the checkpoints when it finally comes into play, and when the 15-minute cities come into play, and Agenda 2030 is all set into play. All right, and all these roundabouts still have probably a military tent popped up there, with some guns and stuff like that, and some sandbags around, probably a couple 50 cals pointing each direction. You know what I mean? But I told you that like the checkpoints, the way that they're going to have them set up, there's 3 layers of checkpoints. There's an initial layer that you don't see. You pass those few soldiers that are off to the side of the road in the woods somewhere or in a building somewhere watching from afar. Okay. And then you come up to the main checkpoint. They radio the checkpoint that you're approaching because they already have your license plate. Okay. Hold on one second. I did receive that, Kimberly, and thank you so much, sister, for having my back and having the children's back. That means a lot, Sister Kimmy. Thank you so much. God bless you. And God bless everybody that can even just pray. It's not about money, it's also about prayer, because prayer, even to the finance, if you don't have anything that you can help with, to pray that the funds come in time, because I actually have a couple of deadlines. Like my wife helps me with these investigations, and she has to take time off of work and things like that. So we have to have a set window, and I don't even know what the window is for a part of this thing. So I got to figure that out. Anyways, but prayer is most important. Prayer for protection, prayer that God provides, prayer that God will cause me to be invisible amongst my enemies. All right. And so like things like that, very, very important. So, but with that being said, as I was saying about the checkpoints, is that after you get through the initial stage of the first checkpoint, you have the main checkpoint where it's going to be like on the roundabout. Okay. And then once you get past the roundabout, all right, there's another checkpoint that would be on the other side again, in a building somewhere that you can't see, watching from afar, or in the woods somewhere. And these checkpoints are always just over the hill or just around the bend. All right, because they don't want you to see the checkpoint until you're right up on the checkpoint. And by that time, they already have you boxed in. And so I know I'm talking about martial law and things like that, but it's still, I saw this and it reminded me of that. How they're just literally, they have this thing, a circular in the middle of the intersection, and they're walking around and they're asking people for their information to make sure they're not ICE. They're literally controlling the city. This is a civilian task force that Obama told about. We needed a civilian task force that's just as strong, just as well funded as the U.S. military. I mean, it's funded. I've been hearing word that some of these Antifa folk are getting paid up to $20,000 a week. Some of the most violent ones. The more violent, the more that they do, the more they get paid. And they know this, so they're acting a fool. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just putting that out there with that. Now, this was in Texas that this happened, all right, and it was in Hayes, Texas, and this was a intermediate school district, all right, and this was a teacher. This is a teacher that this is happening to, all right, and and you don't see it, but the initial child, the initial teen started to attack, and it looks like he's attacking her, but he's not. He's actually like she attacked him, and they both fell down. And this is where the video picks up, because obviously, they have to edit it to make it look the worst. Oh, she tried to take his hat. That's what it was. I'm sorry. But she tried to take his hat, and he was trying to get his hat back. But this is a teacher. This is a teacher. And obviously doesn't agree politically. And these kids were attacking him to the point, where they're throwing stuff at him and all that stuff. But these kids should be in school. These kids should be in school, not out on the streets. Not out protesting and doing things that adults are the ones that should be doing it. The kids should be inside learning, but the schools are allowing this stuff. They're okaying this stuff. They're telling the kids to go out and protest, and that stuff's happening all over. They actually are like in big trouble financially, because a lot of these kids, they're actually finding it more trendy to go out and to protest rather than be in school, and some of the schools are going to lose funding because of it. And that's the reality of it. And Kimmy, I'm absolutely your big brother, sister. Absolutely, I got your back. I absolutely have your back. And I know that it's difficult times that we're in, but Jesus has us in the palm of his hand. But we have to be aware of what's going on, but you don't have to dwell on it. You know, sometimes people, and I'm just giving you an instance here, sometimes people will go from YouTube channel to YouTube channel to YouTube channel to YouTube channel, and then they hear a lot of regurgitated information. I'm not saying focus only on my channel, but know that if I think that it's real news and it really matters for that day and for what's going on, I'm going to cover it. There's some things I don't cover because I think it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo and I don't think it's going to pan out or things like that. Sometimes I try to stay ahead of the curve, even if I'm talking about things that I think that are coming a year or two down the way. You know, Jesus could come before any of this happens. All right. But the reality is that we don't know, and things seem to be building, but we're going to be okay. But we got to stand together, you know. And God has our backs. You know, greater is he that is within us than he that is within the world. All right. Jesus loves us with all of his heart, and we love him with all of our hearts. All right. There's no way we can outlove God. He has us right in the palm of his hand, and he's taking care of us through these situations. All right. So I just wanted to share that with you real quick. Hold on 1 second. Just going back to my file here. I do have a video. I'm not going to show it because she just goes through a lot of rhetoric, and it's a bunch of annoying mumbo jumbo. But you know, there's really influential people, and I don't know the lady's name right off the top of my head, but really influential people and social influencers. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. Social influencers online that are talking about how Christians are parasites. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, it seems like the whole entire world is starting to turn on Christians, and the Muslims are taking over. They're allowing the Quran in schools, we saw earlier, but they want to allow the Bible in schools. That breaks my heart. That absolutely breaks my heart, man. That's just disgusting to me. Now, also here, I do have a video. Actually, that's 10 minutes long. I thought it was a minute long. I'm not going to show a video 10 minutes long, but in Norway, they're saying that upon the declaration of war, that they're going to take citizens' homes. How can you do that? How can you even do that? I don't understand that, but you know, I'm sure you can look into it if you want to know more about that. That was just kind of a side thing that I was going to share. And then just the amount of crime that's just through the roof. And in this Don Lemon situation, you know, he was talking about, I'm not even going to show the video because I'm done with videos right now, but Don Lemon was on the Jimmy Kimmel show and he was whining and crying about being arrested. And he said, they're here to intimidate me and to cause fear. Well, isn't that what you did to that church, Don Lemon? What you did to that church, you were there to intimidate them and to cause fear. That disgusts me. And then he's going to cry about it and act like, you know, he wasn't, you know, trying to do the same thing to Christians. It says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you in the word of God. And so, you know, you just kind of ate some humble pie real quick. That's for sure. So, you know, but they were even praising Don Lemon at the Grammys or whatever. Or no, I don't know if it was the Grammys. Maybe it was another award show. But they were praising him. They had like a standing ovation, all that stuff for coming at people in a church that were minding their own business. Minding their own business. You can be minding your own business. The enemy can attack, and the enemy will be praised in the society that we live in nowadays. That absolutely boggles my mind. You know, so I mean, this is where we're at. And again, if you're just joining us, dude, you should go back to the beginning of this because, you know, I show how they're wanting a judge is going to hear the case to permanently take down the Epstein files. They're going to try to erase this. And I showed you how to get in there and how to download it. I showed you how to surf it. And you know, for anybody who's a soft and tender-hearted individual, please don't go searching around in there. There's really rough things in there. There's things that people just shouldn't read. But I'm a watchman. I've been doing this for over 25 years. Not online, but I had a street ministry for quite some time, and just been being a watchman, warning people in general for 25 years. I've only been doing this the last 4 years, and I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't. I'm full of guts and vibrata and vutzpa. I am gung ho and ready to fight a good fight up until Jesus decides to come pick us up off this planet and take us home before the great tribulation. So I'm ready, and I got a lot of fight left in me, and so I just need to be put in the fight. That's all. So if you feel led, I appreciate it. If you don't feel led, I just appreciate some prayers, man. Prayer is most important when it comes to these investigations. And I thank you all for being here for me, praying for me, and those who will send me an email just encouraging me. The encouragement means so much to me. It really does. And it can be real easy to get depressed doing this sort of thing. And so, I appreciate you guys so much. And tomorrow I have a special show that I'm going to do with somebody. I'm not going to say who it is right now, but they're people that I love very, very dearly, and they mean a lot to me. And I'm excited. I'm going to get to have them on the show tomorrow. So it's going to be a good time. And I really hope you guys can show up for that. But it'll be in the morning. It'll be, I think, like 9 Eastern time. I think we're going to go live. I'm planning anyways. I'm hoping nothing, throws a monkey wrench into that. But so, again, thank you guys for showing up. I love you guys all so much. Remember, Jesus is in control of this ship, man. And I said ship as in SHIP. I know how that can sound the other way. Jesus is in control of the ship. He's at the helm. He's got the steering wheel, and he's in control. We're just on along for the ride, but let's give it our all and fight till our last breath, while we have time to fight. Jesus said that he's patient and long suffering for the fruit of the earth, that none should perish. And so should we. So should we be also. So I love you guys all so much. May God bless you. May he keep you in these last days. And please don't forget to go out and change this world in which you live.